Imagine traveling across the ocean to the most famous city in the world. You are dressed in your best clothes, and you expect everyone to cheer when you arrive. You think the biggest fashion brands are waiting to give you expensive gifts and put your face on their posters. But then you get to the front door, and the person standing there says, "I'm sorry, but you aren't on the list." This is exactly what happened to Meghan Markle in Paris. This is the story of how one of the most famous women in the world was told she was no longer welcome at the fanciest parties. It is a story about big dreams, secret lists, and a city that decided to stop smiling. Let's look at what really happened behind those closed doors at Dior and why the fashion world decided to walk away. Listen, let me tell you the real story of what happened at Dior in Paris. Meghan Markle was put on a secret no-entry list. When she landed in Paris, she wasn't just there for a vacation. She was trying to make a big comeback. Her team told everyone it was just a quiet trip to look at clothes. But inside the beautiful Dior offices with their shiny marble floors, the workers already knew what to do. They were told very clearly, no meetings, no trying on clothes, and no exceptions for her. People who worked there said her name had been flagged weeks before. A message went around saying she shouldn't be allowed to show up without an invitation. If she had any questions, she had to talk to the lawyers. Even so, Meghan showed up feeling very sure of herself. She told them she had an appointment to look at the most expensive dresses, but the list showed something different. She had no way in, no reservation, and the brand did not want to work with her. What was supposed to be a friendly visit turned into a very quiet but very firm no. Within just a few hours, people were whispering all over Paris. The news spread through the hallways where fashion experts work. Everyone was saying that Dior had turned her away. It wasn't in the newspapers yet, but in the world of high fashion, secrets travel very fast. People inside the building said the whole thing felt very cold and calm. No one was screaming and there was no big fight. It was just very formal. The person in charge of news for Dior stepped forward. They told her there was no appointment and then wished her a nice day. For Meghan, this was much worse than just a mistake. It was very embarrassing because she had been trying to get Dior to work with her for months. People who know the story say her team had sent many ideas for how they could work together. They wanted her to be a special face for the brand. They even wanted her to do a photo shoot that looked like the famous Princess Diana. These plans looked very fancy and expensive. They were meant to show Meghan as a queen who likes to break the rules. But inside Dior, the bosses did not like the idea. One boss supposedly said that they dress people who are already legends, and they don't want to use people who are famous for being in trouble. After that, they took her name off their contact lists. The polite no she got that morning was just the end of a decision they had made a long time ago. A few days later, some secret emails and messages were found. These papers showed that Meghan had been trying to get Dior's attention for many months. Her very last plan even said she was like a new version of Princess Diana for young people today. That was the moment Dior had enough. The people who run the company did not want a big mess in the news. They wanted to stay far away from her. Behind closed doors, they voted to put her on a blacklist. This meant she could not work with them on any future projects. Soon, other big fashion brands did the same thing. Then something very strange happened. While the bosses at Dior were trying to keep things quiet, the internet suddenly became full of people praising Meghan's style. People on social media were all saying the exact same things and using the same tags. Dior's experts looked into it and found that these messages were coming from companies that work for Meghan's team. To Dior, it looked like she was trying to pretend they were still friends when they weren't. Just a few hours after they told her no, the company sent a short message to news editors across Europe. It said Dior had no plans to work with the Duchess. It was only one line long with no extra words. It was a very calm message, but it was final. In the world of expensive dresses, being silent is a way of showing you are unhappy. When Dior stopped talking to her, it didn't end there. Dior is part of a giant group called LVMH. This group also owns other famous brands like Fendi, Givenchy, and Louis Vuitton. Meghan's name started showing up on a secret list that all these brands share. These lists are not for the public to see, but every big store has one. They put names on the list if someone is too much trouble or if they might make the brand look bad. The bosses at these other stores looked at the list and decided to do what Dior did. Givenchy, the brand that made her famous wedding dress, was the first one to step back. Chanel said no to her ideas too. Even the people who help famous people get clothes were told to stay away from her. It wasn't because they hated her, but because they wanted to protect their business. The Duchess had become the thing the fashion world is most afraid of, a person who brings too much drama. Paris didn't yell at her to leave. They just stopped answering her phone calls. In that silence, the blacklist was louder than any headline in a magazine. Meghan did not want to give up. A few days later, she showed up at a fashion show for a brand called Balenciaga. She wasn't expected to be there, and she wanted to show everyone she was still a star. The cameras took lots of pictures, and the lights were very bright. For a second, it looked like she was winning again, but it wasn't true. People at the show said the mood changed the moment she walked into the room. One person whispered that it felt like the air turned into ice. The important magazine editors stayed far away from her. The designers were polite but very cold. When she walked in, people clapped, but it wasn't because they were excited. It was just to be nice. Even though the photos looked pretty, the people who were actually there said it felt very awkward. No designers came over to talk to her. No one told her she looked great. Behind the scenes, the real talk wasn't about her clothes. It was about how she was no longer part of the cool group. The cameras saw her smiling, but the people in Paris only felt the cold silence. Backstage at the show, people started telling secrets. These are the kinds of stories that people in Paris never forget. The workers who help with the clothes and the assistants were all whispering about the Duchess. They weren't talking about her dress or her hair. They were talking about something much more personal. One person said there was a very strong smell. Another said she was wearing way too much perfume, almost like she was trying to hide something. Whether this was true or just a mean story, it didn't matter. In the fashion world, gossip spreads faster than a nice smell. By the time the party after the show was over, everyone was talking about it. Within hours, workers from many different brands were texting each other about it. Some thought it was just mean talk, but others said it showed how much stress she brought into every room. The final decision wasn't really about how she smelled, it was about her energy. People in Paris can forgive someone for being mean or for having a scandal, but they never forgive someone who makes the whole room feel heavy and uncomfortable. That night, the air around Meghan Markle felt very hard to breathe. Then something happened that made people really angry. After she left the fashion show, Meghan was seen taking videos near a tunnel called the Pont de l'Alma. This is the very same tunnel where Princess Diana died in a car accident many years ago. Her team said she was just taking a pretty drive, but the people in the city didn't believe them. Because Meghan had already told people she was like Diana, choosing that spot felt like she was doing it on purpose. To many people in Paris, this was crossing a line that should never be crossed. They whispered that she was trying to use Diana's sad story to make people feel sorry for her. But to the people who remember that tragedy, it felt very rude and creepy. An important stylist who used to work with Dior said it best: Diana's memory is something to be respected, not something to be used for selling things. That one drive near the tunnel did more damage to her reputation than any brand Rejection ever could. In Paris, a city that still misses Diana, it felt like she was just acting. By the time the big fashion week was over, the dream was completely gone. People who used to think she was very classy now wondered what she was really trying to do. It turned out that Balenciaga had not even given her the clothes for the event. Her outfit was just borrowed, not a gift. The shoes she wore were the only thing that actually came from the brand. Everything else was gotten through other people, not from the brand itself. In the world of fancy clothes, that is a sign that you are being left out. There were no special fittings made just for her. She wasn't an honored guest, she was just someone who managed to get a seat. That's when Paris really turned its back. The editors who used to say nice things about her stayed away. The stylists said they couldn't help her. Even the photographers stopped trying to get her best side. It wasn't because they wanted to be mean. It was just a quiet no. In Paris, they don't boo you. They just stop looking up when you walk into the room. When Meghan got on her plane to go home, the cameras were still flashing, but the people holding them didn't care anymore. Paris had decided that the Dior problem wasn't just one bad day. It was a sign that she didn't really belong there. She came to France thinking she could change how people saw her. She thought expensive dresses could fix the trouble she was in. Instead, she learned that wearing fancy clothes doesn't matter if people don't think you are being real. The Duchess who once had the whole world watching her was now standing alone. By trying so hard to be like Princess Diana, she lost who she really was. Paris does not like people who copy others, it likes people who are honest. One writer for a big French newspaper said it perfectly. The difference between Diana and Meghan was that Diana was always real. By the time Meghan left the city, the whispers had stopped and everything was quiet. In the end, Meghan didn't leave Paris like a fashion queen. She left as a reminder that in the world of very expensive clothes, you can't just demand that people like you. You have to earn it. And for Meghan Markle, Paris decided she had only earned one thing: they wanted her to stay far away.